Hey guys, hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. Thanks so much for taking time with me today. I hope y'all can hear me. I'm flying solo again, it looks like. Um, but yeah, today we're going to talk about being intentional, being intentional in our weight loss, being intentional in our weight loss. And so we'll take a minute here. It doesn't look like we have anybody here, but that's all right. We'll take a minute and let people see maybe the alert. I hope your Wednesday is going well. Mine is well. I guess we're just about over for the day part of it, right? So that's good. Hey, Barbara, thanks for coming in. Good to see you. Good to see you. Just going to wait a few minutes here to get started. We'll talk about being intentional in our weight loss. If you see me looking over to the side here, it's because I have my notes on the other screen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you all. I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're healthy. Um, I know you're blessed. I hope you feel it. So, looking forward to talking with everybody, and we'll get right into this here pretty soon. I'm not sure if anyone else is going to join us, but Barbara, I sure appreciate you stopping in today. So, kind of a little bit of a back story, I guess, on why I chose this topic. Some people come up with a New Year's resolution or a theme for the year, and one thing Mrs. Hartman Maid told me was she had a word that she felt was her word for this year, and I feel like it is so relevant to this topic. And her word was intentional. Intentional. So, what does intentional mean? It means deliberate, it means on purpose, it means that you've gone out of your way to make a plan. Um, Intentionally, right? The whole goal was to do this. And when it comes to our weight loss, it is imperative that everything about this thing is intentional. Intentional. Can y'all hear me? Um, I believe you can. I just, for whatever reason, I'm just like nervous that I'm sitting here talking and talking and talking, and you can't hear me. So I'm just gonna take off my mute from my YouTube for a second. I don't know because I have headsets plugged in too. So, all right. Well, it, if you can hear me, Barbara, put a one in the chat. That would be great. I'm gonna go ahead and type it in there too because I'm a little bit concerned. Can you? All right, perfect, perfect. I'll carry on. If nothing else for you and I. So going back to that, so sorry. Got derailed there a little bit, distracted. Um, so being intentional, it is if we want results, we have to pay attention to something. If we're going to pay attention to it, we have to do it on purpose. And so um thinking about this whole idea of weight management, um, focusing on losing weight, it's going to require us to adopt some healthy choices um, or behaviors in our life, and that's going to have to be intentional. You're going to have to look up some stuff. You're going to have to do some research so that you know why you're eating the way you're eating, and what you're going to do on purpose to reduce. Maybe it's reduce calories, maybe it's reduce sugar, maybe it's eat more of this or eat less of that. And For me, I had to adopt an entire different way of eating, and I chose, based on my doctor's advice, to adopt the carnivore eating plan. And I had to be very intentional in that. I had to change a lot of everything that I did, and I had to make sure that I put the research behind that and the brain power behind it to make these choices intentionally. Um, and so, we've talked about it in the past as far as coming up with our why, right? What is our why? We need to intentionally stop and identify, um, why am I embarking on this journey towards weight loss? Why am I making the effort to make these changes? What are my reasons? Um, and when they're an internal motive, like better health, more energy, maybe improve our self esteem, it might be. A number of things, but when we intentionally identify those, we can then tie our behaviors back to that. And we can remind ourselves, I'm doing this because, um, and that will allow us to create realistic goals, long term and short term, um, and, begin that pattern of change. So I'm going to look at today. And maybe you're viewing this later. If so, thanks for stopping by. If you're lurking in the background, thanks for stopping by. But I want to look at a few areas of where we can be intentional that is going to help us in our weight loss journey. Excuse me one second. Intent is relative. Intent is relative. However, to make it happen involves discipline. Discipline for sure. For sure. Um, in regards to some places we need to be intentional is, essentially, I think we need to plan to control a few places, um, to make choices of what's going to happen. Obviously, none of us can control what goes on outside of us, right? Life happens and it goes as it will, but we can, in most cases, control ourselves, how we handle situations, planning for them, etc. Um, and so, when it comes to our home, where we live, we can be intentional here. Um, some tips here, I guess, some advice would be choose um, a place that you're going to sit and eat for your meals. Not everybody sits at the dining room table, right? Um, but I say be intentional on, I'm going to eat here. I'm going to eat now. This is the time where when I'll eat breakfast. This is the time that I'll eat lunch. This is when I'll eat dinner. And maybe you're intentionally choosing to eat one meal a day. Maybe you're choosing to eat five small meals a day. But you need to decide when they're going to happen so that you can execute that plan, like Barbara said, to use discipline and make it happen. So maybe your choice is, I'm going to eat only while sitting down at the kitchen or dining room table. I'm not going to eat while I'm watching television. I'm not going to eat while I'm reading, cooking, talking on the phone, or whatnot. Working, I work from home here, at this desk. I'm not going to eat at this desk. I'm going to eat at the kitchen table. Um, you're going to set the standard of how you're interacting in that food relationship. Um, you know, that said, I'm only going to eat. So if I'm only going to eat at the kitchen table, that's going to put me, near the kitchen, right? So I'm going to go through that area to get my food together. We need to be intentional on what we're putting in the kitchen. You cannot, maybe you can, but I'm going to venture out. I'm going to step out and say, you cannot master this thing of a weight loss journey if you are putting foods in your home that are going to tempt you. It's not going to work. Hey, Virginia, thanks for stopping in. Good to see you. I hope you're well. So we're talking about being intentional, and we first started out with be intentional on planning a place where you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, um, in your home, but also be intentional on the food you're bringing home. Guys, we just got through Christmas, and one thing I have always loved is the fudge white chocolate covered Oreos. I love them. Now, there's a lot less of those white chocolate covered Oreos in a package than there is on our standard package of Oreos. Okay. And I may or may not have been known to eat an entire box of those white chocolate covered Oreos during holidays past. Now, going into this holiday, I knew that I needed to intentionally avoid bringing those to this house. I'm sorry if you live here, you just can't have that here. Why? Because that's setting me up for failure. So I'm intentionally managing the intent requires the skill of disciplining the inner child. Okay, yeah. And I honestly needed to treat myself as if I was disciplining my inner child, right? In order to get some success. I had to get and the reality is the more I kept myself focused, intentionally made those choices, the less I desired the that option that was bad choice for me. Now I 100% have no issue walking down the food aisle in the grocery store in order to get to the items I'm seeking. I don't have those temptations, but you need to intentionally keep them out of your home. Don't buy them because if they're not present, they're not going to tempt you, uh, or as easily tempt you. Um, yes, this child comes up with more excuses. Hey, listen, we need to be stronger than our excuses because our excuses are very strong. But we have to get to that place. Sorry, we do have to get to that place where we are calling the shots and not necessarily giving in to all of our desires. The reality is, if I eat and I eat and I eat every time I just want something, I'm going to have poor health and be very overweight. Because what does a child do? A child wants, wants, wants. And I have been that way in the past. Um, we need to keep tempting foods out of the house intentionally, right? Don't bring them home. And then, maybe you're in a situation where you live with multiple people and you can't necessarily avoid that. You're not in charge of the grocery shopping, or maybe you're in a roommate situation where other folks have their things. You need to keep them out of your sight intentionally. Now, that doesn't mean in certain situations you can avoid putting them in a cupboard or avoid putting them in a certain part of the pantry or kitchen, but you can avoid that pathway, right? Um, I have heard it said if you hang around in a barber shop long enough, you're eventually going to get a haircut. Okay. If you hang around a tempting food long enough, you're eventually going to partake with it. So you need to intentionally stay away from it, keep it out of your sight. And that might mean walking with blinders for a little while until you get to the point where your inner child is disciplined. Me too. I don't eat eggnog, too much dairy, rich for the palate. Okay, fair enough. Um, the the idea here then of intentionally avoiding certain foods by bringing them into the home, intentionally keeping them out of our sight or out of our path, puts us in a place where we need to now intentionally replace that, right? um, because we need to have choices, right? I'm going to eat today. You're going to eat today. But if we're not supposed to eat that stuff, what are we going to do? We might have to intentionally prepare ahead of time. You may have to go out and purchase that food. And maybe we've done this before in our house. You're going to do meal prep for the week. And we've gotten the little containers and we've done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever, and put them in the fridge. And when your little box is empty, that meal's over. Move on, buddy. You're done. But when it's time to eat, you go to the refrigerator or you go to the pantry and you pull your portion, and it's all set. The brain work's done. Sometimes they say we're not supposed to make decisions when we're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Halt. We need to stop when we're in those situations. And sometimes, if we're not planning ahead and we find ourselves hungry, you know what? We wait too long, we're eventually going to be angry. We're going to get hangry, right? And then we're going to make a bad choice. But if you've prepared intentionally for this moment, you don't have to react that way. You can go to the refrigerator or go to the cupboard and pull Adam's portion for right now and eat successfully. So prepare for that. You need to have healthy options, healthy snacks available for you. Maybe for you, that's small pieces of fruit. Maybe for you, that's vegetables. That might be low fat string cheese or cottage cheese. That might be, and if you're eating like me, it doesn't matter if it's low fat or not, right? If it's cheese in the appropriate time, it's okay. And that's much better than choosing to eat a bag of chips. um, as we get into the holidays, we have a whole lot more delivery drivers visiting the home, right? Here comes Amazon. Here comes Amazon right down my driveway, right? They're delivering packages. And so, Mrs. Hartman Maid, she likes to put some snacks and some drinks out there for these delivery people. They work long and hard, okay? Whether that's your postman, whether that's Amazon, FedEx, UPS, they're out in those cars all day long and a lot longer during the holidays. So she likes to put some stuff out there for them. So we went to I don't know if it was Target. I think it was Target. And we got some we already had some seltzer waters we'd put out for them, some flavored carbonated waters, and we picked up some popcorn in the bags and a box of the Frito-Lay treats, Doritos, and Funyuns, I think they're called. Barbecue chips, salt and vinegar chips, Cheetos. I mean, we are setting out great snack food if you're a junk eater. I mean, I said to Heather, and it was right, the box was right by our front door. I said to her on more than one occasion, I just want a bag of these spicy Doritos. Like, I'm at the place where, it's not going to kill my blood sugar. It's not going to derail me too far. I want one of these bags of Doritos. And on any given day, I would never think that way, but it's in the hallway by the house um, that I walk by. So it's now in my sight, and now I want it. It's in my sight. It's on my mind. Um, Now, if I have other options available, I no longer need to worry about that, because when I'm walking past that, I'm going to be walking back to my office with something that was a better choice, because I'm intentionally grabbing the right thing to snack on. So being intentional here, talking about making good choices, and whatnot, identifying where I'm going to eat, when I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat, planning ahead so that I'm ready to eat is going to set me up for success. The next thing is going to be, well, what about when I'm at work? Not everybody works from their house like I do. I know a lot of people that subscribe to me, they're resellers and whatnot, and they run their own businesses, and maybe they're on the go, but maybe you're going to a 9 to 5. Maybe you're going to sit at a desk. When I worked in an office, I had this is confess your faults one to another, right? I was the manager for the staffing department, and I had my own office, and I had filing cabinet in there, and I had a budget basically, and I would have snacks for my team. Now, smart thing would be put them in a place in the common area, not in Adam's office. Adam thing to do is put him in Adam's office so Adam has first choice of said snacks. You need to be intentional with this decision because that is not a recipe for success. Do you need to set up some rules, some intentional guidelines here that, you know what, if I'm going to have snacks at work, we're going to keep them in the common area, or we're going to get them from the break room, or do not keep them near your desk at your desk, and don't eat them at your desk. Lunch, you're supposed to come away for a break, right? In order to take a break, you have to go away from the situation. So make it an intentional goal to leave your working situation when it's time for a break if you're going to have a snack. Now you're going to go into a public place and you're going to make a choice on what you're going to eat. You know, how many times have you found yourself mesmerized um, at the list of selections in the vending machine at work? Um, most cases, unless you've gotten to the fat fan club like myself, where you already know when you're on your way. I'm already knowing I'm pressing A3 and I'm gonna drop the Kit Kat bar, right? And if for some chance the Kit Kat bar is not there, I know I'm going for whatever, and I'm gonna drop that, right? But a lot of people spend time mesmerized and in that place of decision. If you're going to be intentional, you can keep your lunch bag in the break room, right? Where you've already prepared your snacks for the day on purpose. And so now you'll sit down at the break table and have your snack that you've already planned for that's not going to hurt you. Um, During your breaks, maybe you need to choose go for a walk. I live here in upstate New York. It's not walking weather right now, but a cool, brisk walk is not a bad thing either. We have clothes we can put on to warm ourselves up, but get in some activity. Even if you're going to have a snack, why can't you have a grab and go and have that while you're taking your walk? Um, Maybe it's intentionally choosing another activity to spend your break doing rather than window shopping, at the mesmerizing vending machine. Um, Maybe you work in a place where there is food. Maybe you're working in a cafeteria or a grocery store or a restaurant. Um, you might find yourself in a place that could set you up for failure. My sister works at a bakery at Walmart. She's the baker there. So she does all the cake decorating, all the cupcake decorating. Um, that would be a bad job for me. Um, Now imagine if you work there long enough, um, you'll probably get sick of it, right? But for me, I can have a lot of a bad thing before I get sick of it. So that just wouldn't be a good choice for me. You would need to intentionally prepare for that. Like I said, have that snack bag or lunch bag ready for your choices. Make it so that it's inconvenient for you to eat that mindless um, food, right? That sugar food. Maybe it's having a bottle of this is just water. It's electrolyte water. It's got all the good stuff in it for me. Have this here so that when you need something, you take this. It's satisfying. Fill this up often. This is guilt-free snacking right here. Maybe you're someone that likes to chew gum or have like a natural or sugarless candy of some sort. One thing we've gotten in the past, and this can has been sitting on my desk for a while. Um, this is Zevia. It still has stuff in it. I don't really like it because it's called Mountain Zevia. There is zero sugars. I don't know if you can see this. Zero sugars, 0 calories, all of that. Zero carbs. This is a soda. Essentially, it's like a carbonated water. It's literally clear with natural flavorings. Uh, Maybe that's a choice for you. I'm not sure, but um, you have to plan for that. You need to be intentional in that. Now, one thing that's going to be wise for you in order to succeed is you need to not work through your meal period. Okay. The problem with doing that is skipping that meals is multiple. Okay, one problem could be it's going to slow down your metabolism. Your body's going to hold on to fat because it thinks you're starving. Right? It's not. It's counterintuitive to weight loss. But another thing is, it could result in you getting to that place where you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, and you are just gonna pack it in at your next meal. You're gonna overeat. I don't know about you, but how many times have you found yourself um, where you just worked all day? The next thing you know, it's time to go, and you're like, I'm so hungry I could eat my arm. If you're driving to my house, you're going to drive past a fast food restaurant. You're going to drive past a pizza place. You're going to drive past a gas station that has all kinds of Little Debbie and Hostess type delicacies. Um, and I worked making pizza all day. I had no temptation. That's awesome. 2 years today, years later, it's still my favorite brand. My treat and just a treat. That's a great place to be. Um, Maybe you'll find yourself stopping to have a snack. What did they say from the King of Queens? You're going to have a pre-dinner Whopper, right? Knowing that dinner is going to be coming soon, but you're so hungry because you skipped your period. You weren't intentional on eating that day, that you're setting yourself up to a place where you're going to hurt yourself by overeating and likely eating more. So we need to be intentional in our home environment. We need to be intentional in our work environment. Um, and then we need to be intentional about the whole mealtime experience. Um, you know, uh, I have some tips here, and I think these may be beneficial. Um, I don't know if if you grew up like I did, or live like I do. The meal is prepared, then you bring it all out to the table. You sit down and you just eat, right? Um, and so like Christmas Day, we had family over, and the meal was prepared. We brought all of the main dish, the side dishes, we had them out on the table, and people just ate, right? They served themselves past their plate, that kind of thing. The problem with that is all of the food is still right there. And we may or may not have had a family member who had a bit much, because you always have the appetizers that are set out before, and even if it's good choices, too much food, even too much good food, is bad for you. But it's so much easier when everything's sitting out there in front of you. Hey, can I have a little bit more? And you say, maybe you're looking at it like I'm just having a little bit more, but you don't realize maybe that's your fourth or fifth serving of a little bit more. So maybe being intentional and serving your plate of food at the stove or kitchen counter, and then bringing that plate to the table to sit down and eat with your family, if you have family over, or if you're by yourself, sit down in a place of comfort, relaxing, to enjoy your meal that you've worked hard to prepare. Um, and then once you're done, maybe if you decide, that's not going to work, there's a bunch of people at the house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the dishes on the table. Okay. Once you're finished eating, clear the table, take the food away. Because, if you're like me, we're sitting down, we're talking, we're spending time together, we're enjoying each other. And the food just sits here. Number one, that's not good, right? If we sit here for an hour talking, that food's sitting here getting to room temperature, bacteria starting to grow. But number two, we sit there long enough, and you're anything like me, you're going to start picking a little bit up and, having another little snack. Next thing you know, you just had meal number two in the same hour. So put the food away after you're finished eating. um, you need to decide what you're going to eat. Some people will say, when I was a kid, we had one of those, what is it, Strive for Five or whatever, and they had the pictures of stuff on the plate, and you knew, this much of the plate was this, and this much of the plate is that. And sometimes you had the divided plates, and, you were planning on what you were going to eat. You were intentional. I know I can have this much um, grains, I can have this much fruits and vegetables. And so it might be that you need to be intentional. I don't want to eat more meat than the size of my hand. Well, I guess that's all I'm getting for dinner is this much meat because that's all that I eat. But in your diet, it might be that. But you're intentional in setting those guidelines. And so when you prepare your plate, it might be that you need to have one of those divided out plates. So you put everything in the right place and you can sit down. Maybe it's not about, I don't want my food touching. Maybe it's about, I just need to make sure I'm eating the right things and the right amount of them. Um, it's okay to say no, thank you. Um, you need to be intentional. I know when I go to dinner, I'm going to eat this much food. So when your mother-in-law says, would you like some more? You can say, no, thank you. I appreciate the offer. I've had enough. Or would you like this? Knowing full well you shouldn't be eating that. It's okay to say no, thank you. And politely decline the additional food you wouldn't eat. It might be you need to be intentional on the size of plate or bowl that you're using. Um, you know, it may not seem like it, but a large portion of food on a small plate equals a giant portion of food, where a smaller portion of food on a smaller plate might tell your mind it's a larger portion of food, and it might be a mind game that you're working through. So you need to be intentional um, in your home environment. You need to be intentional in your work environment. You need to be intentional in that mealtime environment. Hey, Danny, thanks for stopping in, man. Good to see you. We're talking about being intentional with what we're eating here. Um, so, next thing here that I have is being intentional. Um, when you're sorry, just got totally derailed. Being intentional in your daily food management. Um and that might be what I'm getting at is the way we're approaching food, how we're handling it, when we're having it. You might be saying, today I'm not going to eat 3 meals, right? Because I had a pretty good sized breakfast and I know we're going out to dinner. So I'm going to, have something light for lunch. I've already planned it, and then replace that time when you would be eating with others maybe with another activity that you will not associate with food. Um, when you go to the movies, what do you think of? I'm going to the movies and I'm going to have popcorn. I'm going to the movies and we're going to the snack shop, right? That's often what people think of. So, maybe you're not going to want to spend your midday meal break sitting down watching TV, because that might be thinking I'm going to mindlessly toss something into my mouth. You might want to go for that walk, or catch up on some other activity, visit with a friend, whatnot. Um, Here's something. A suggestion would be wait a specific amount of time before indulging in something that you're craving. Okay. I don't know about you, but um, there are times where I'm like, oh my word, I really want to eat this. When I began the carnivore diet, I did really good after I put my mind to it. But there was one day I decided, you know what, I've gone a long time here, and I want some soft serve twist, chocolate and vanilla ice cream with chocolate sprinkles. I can't get this out of my mind. I really want it. And I apologize if you like that and I just put that into your head, because I mean I can see it. I mean I know what it is. And I wanted that so bad. And I said to Heather, we were out and about, and I said, "Man, I just really want some of this soft serve ice cream twist. I call it a twist. I want a twist with some chocolate sprinkles." And she says, "Go for it. You've been doing amazing. You can have a baby ice cream cone." I'm like, I don't need it right now. And so we went about our errands. We went somewhere else, and Heather wanted something specific. And so I went to take her to get it. And we had gone from there. We'd traveled about 25 minutes. And when we got to where we were going, the place was closed. So she could not get what she wanted. But across the street was an ice cream place. And she decided, you know what, I'll have that. And so I went across the street, and I went and I got her ice cream, and I got back in the car, and I didn't have any. Because in that 25 minutes to a half an hour, that craving I had went away, and I no longer needed that. Instead, I got a nice coffee, and that satisfied me, and it did not set me back. It didn't have any sugar or anything like that in it, and that was delicious to me. And now today, one of our favorite treats here is cold brew, bulletproof cold brew with some heavy cream and iced coffee. We just love it, and that hits the spot like nothing else, and it doesn't set us back. But wait, say 25-30 minutes before giving in to your craving. Be intentional. Okay, you know, Adam, you want this. Okay, perfect. What we're going to do is we're going to wait for a few minutes. We're going to do this first. And then if you still want this, we'll go back and get it. Now, don't sabotage yourself and premeditate. You know what? I'm just going to, pass this time here quick. And then we're going to get that ice cream. Just put yourself all into what you're doing. And see if that craving goes away. Intentionally drink a large glass of water prior to eating. I've heard people say this before. I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, oh, you're gonna fill up on water. I'm gonna fill up on. I don't want water. I want food. If you're like me though, and you're carrying around some water and just drinking it regularly, being intentional about staying hydrated, you might find yourself not eating as much because you might actually have filled up on water. So be intentional about that. Always have a big glass or bottle of water to drink throughout the day. Exactly what I was saying. And be careful about the extras. Intentionally decide, I'm gonna have a burger, but I'm not gonna have mayonnaise, lettuce, and tomato on it, because the extra stuff is probably not just as necessary. It might, maybe maybe you're gonna just try the burger with mustard or and pickles maybe, or whatnot, but try to remove that high calorie stuff. The extra amount of heavy cream in your coffee. I love heavy cream in my iced coffee. I do. Now, I've seen a lot of people on carnivore that have had to stop drinking heavy cream in their coffee in order to resume or jumpstart their weight loss again, because it's become too much for them. And so, be intentional about the additional options, the add-ins, the condiments, whatnot, as you're going through your day. Talking about shopping. You need to be intentional when you go grocery shopping. Do not, I've heard this said so many times, and I've experienced it so many times, do not go to the grocery store hungry. Because this is where that inner child you've been talking about, Barbara, comes out. I want this, and I'll have that, and I'll have this, and I want that, and I'll have this, and I want that, and ooh, that looks good. You came here for butter, eggs, and milk, and you left with half of the prepared foods. Excuse me, because you were hungry. Eat your meal prior to going grocery shopping and go with a list. You need to shop from your list and avoid buying anything that's not on your list. If you find something, and guys, I saw a meme earlier today. It said, if you don't practice what you preach, I'd appreciate it if you kept your sermons private. This is a hard one for me because I struggle to practice what I'm preaching right now. And you're watching this, so well, one of you's watching this. I can't necessarily keep the sermon private, but guys, if you're grocery shopping and you've decided that I want this, do this. Go home and put it on your list for the next time you go to the grocery store and then see if you really need it. Or was it just, ooh, that looks good, right? I've done that so many times, guys. And you end up buying food you don't need, sometimes food you don't want, and you don't even know if you like it. So don't grocery shop when you're hungry. Intentionally eat before you go. Intentionally prepare yourself with a list and don't buy anything, excuse me, if it's not on the list. This is a good one. Don't taste test in the store. You know, you're at the deli counter and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a pound of it. Can I try that one there? The next thing you know, you've eaten half of a sub sandwich in meat because you've just been sampling what they have to offer, and you decide, you know what the problem is? You probably decided to get all of that. You know, when you go to the Costco's or the BJ's or the Sam's Clubs and they got the samples out, you need to intentionally avoid that part of the store because you're going to end up eating foods you wouldn't normally eat. Oh, but it's just a taste. It's just a taste. You're hurting yourself. You're setting yourself back. So avoid that. And this is something I have gotten so good at is intentionally reading food labels. You know, immediately when I showed you this Zevia, what did I do? I showed you the label here. I want to know what are the ingredients: carbonated water, natural flavors, citric acid, vitamin C, um, stevia leaf, and this one has caffeine in it. Um, and then I look at how many carbs, how many sugars, how much protein, how much fat. I want to know all of that. And I spend so much time now reading labels. You have to be intentional because I need to know, is this going to give me the natural flavors there? What are natural flavors? We don't know. You know, skunk spray has a flavor and it's natural. I promise. It's made by the skunk. It's made by nature. You probably don't want to eat that though. Uh, so you stop and scratch your head and say, is this good for me to consume? Do I want to? Is this an alignment with my goals? If you're like me and you're trying to reduce your sugar intake, is this in alignment with my desire to eat a non-sugar labored lifestyle? And so, it's important that you read those labels so that you're intentionally making your food choices. Let's see here. Here's a good one. When we're going out to eat, right? That's a social interaction. And this could be a place that literally sinks your battleship if you do not have intention behind it. Do not show up to a restaurant starving, right? Usually when we go for a meal, we're hungry, right? And that's okay. If you can do something to help yourself and you know you're going out with a bunch of friends, either A, choose a place that you know you can be successful if you have any input on where you're going. If you don't, plan ahead. Have something small to eat before you go, and then know you're going to operate within, safe parameters for yourself. You already know what you can and can't handle. You already know what is a good choice and a bad choice for you. And so be intentional on your pregame, so to speak, as knowing, how am I going to approach this thing? While you're there, try to fill up on foods that are safe for your eating plan. Um, if you're eating a carnivore diet, then the breadsticks or rolls that come ahead of the meal, it's not a good choice. Maybe you're someone who's eating more fruits and vegetables, so you might want to get the meal option that comes with a side salad or a bottomless salad. Um, and ask for the dressing to be on the side so you can decide how much of it you're consuming. You might want to remember, I don't really need these croutons, right? Ask for those to be removed. But make intentional choices on what you're ordering and the things that'll fill you up. Um, Eat foods that you like, right? This is supposed to be an enjoyable social experience, right? Eating should not be a chore. It is a pleasure, but be intentional on your portion sizes. Um, and then if you want more food, so number one, don't guys, I'm sorry, Golden Corral, I'm sorry, Chinese buffet. Guys, do not go to eat at a place like that. The Brazilian steakhouse where they're going to continue to just walk by and ask if you want more food. That's a bad choice if you're trying to embark or continue on a weight loss journey. So you need to be in an environment where if you want more food, you're going to give yourself 20, 25 minutes to allow your food to digest so that you can see how much more food you want. You know, I can remember plenty of times where I've been eating and Mrs. Hartman Maid, who loves me very much, has said, um, "Are you really still hungry?" I'll say, "Of course I'm still hungry. That's why I'm eating." No, I'm eating because it tastes good, and um, I'm selfish, and so I want as much of a good thing as I can have. That's why I'm overweight, guys. Um, it's possible though that if I take her advice and say, you know what, I'm just going to sit here and talk to you and visit for 20, 25 minutes to determine if I want more food. Because at that point, I can decide what I want and how much I want. And I'll be eating out of necessity, not out of, what do you call excess. Um, So there's a bunch more that I could go over here, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap it up here. It looks like I am left, and so I appreciate those of you that stopped by, spent any time with me at all. Um, but I'm honestly, I'm gonna keep going, even if it still shows a zero up there that nobody's watching with me. Number one, because I hope you'll watch this later, but number two, it's just good for me, to be intentional in this type of activity so that I stay prepared, and I can, be successful in my weight loss goal. Guys, I hope that you have a great day. I appreciate the time that you've spent with me. If you've spent any portion of your day, I value that. I hope that you have a wonderful and a blessed evening. I love you guys. Bye for now.